All right, welcome. Today, we're going to trace the connections between some pretty unlikely subjects: the invention of the fuzz pedal, the job description of a heavenly prosecutor, and the measurable mental effort it takes to lie. I know, that sounds like a totally random mix, right? But stick with me, because together, they reveal the blueprint for how a moral panic is born. So let's start with the first ingredient, the sound itself. It all starts with a question that honestly seems to pop up with every single generation. From the blues to heavy metal, why is it that new, challenging sounds are so often met with fear and accusations of being somehow evil or corrupting? Is this just about what we like to listen to, or is there something much deeper going on here? To get to the bottom of that, we actually have to start with the music itself. I'm talking about the actual notes, and one specific musical idea that has been stirring up trouble for, well, centuries. Yeah, this wasn't just some cool name for a metal band. For hundreds of years, this was the literal term for a specific, unsettling sound. A sound that the church and classical composers went to incredible lengths to avoid because they felt it was just inherently wrong. So, what is this devil in music? It's the tritone. It's this interval that sounds tense, unresolved, and to a lot of ears, just kinda ugly. Now, what's really wild about this, and this is the big twist, right? This exact interval, this evil sound, is a fundamental building block of the blues scale. It's not just in there, it's structurally essential to the very music that would later get slapped with that devil's music label. And that sound got amplified, literally. You see, each of these innovations was designed to solve a totally practical problem. The solid body guitar wasn't invented to sound aggressive. Guys like Leo Fender just wanted to stop that horrible squealing feedback from hollow body guitars. Distortion itself was often a total accident, like a busted tube in an amp on an early recording. But here's the thing. Artists heard these new, louder, grittier sounds and turned those technical fixes into full-blown artistic revolutions. And this is where you really start to see the pattern. Every single time a new, challenging sound emerged, society attached the same old label to it. The blues had the whole legend of Robert Johnson selling his soul at the crossroads. Jazz was seen as decadent and corrupting. And by the 1980s, oh man, you had actual congressional hearings targeting heavy metal bands, all fueled by the satanic panic. It's the exact same script, just with a different soundtrack. Okay, but why is that script so powerful? To get that, we need to stop looking at the music for a second and start analyzing the symbol they were using as a weapon, the adversary itself. And what you find is, well, this character has a major identity crisis. So take a look at this. These names we all just throw around interchangeably, they're not the same guy, not even close. In the original Hebrew Bible, Ha-Satan wasn't a name, it was a job title. It literally means the adversary. Think of a heavenly DA whose job was to test people's faith for God. Lucifer? That comes from a political insult in the book of Isaiah, basically a diss track aimed at a Babylonian king. And in the Quran, Iblis isn't even a fallen angel. He's a jinn, a creature made of fire who fell because of his own pride. And this, right here, this is the most important takeaway. Despite this huge cultural image we have of some all-powerful evil force, the original theological sources are crystal clear on this. The adversary does not have the power of coercion. It cannot make you do a single thing. Its one and only power, suggestion. Islam has this incredible, specific word for this concept, waswasa, the whisperings. You see, the adversary's power isn't a command. It's a whisper, a suggestion, an appeal to your own free will, which you always have the power to reject. The buck always stops with the individual. So that whole idea of suggestion, of a whisper trying to deceive us, that brings us to the third piece of our puzzle. Because, the adversary might be doing the whispering, but we're the ones who have to do the actual work of lying. So what does that act of deception actually do to our own minds? Well, science has a term for it, cognitive strain. To put it simply, lying is hard work. It is metabolically expensive for your brain. You're not just saying something that isn't true, your brain is juggling multiple processes all at the same time. Yeah, think about it. What's happening? Your brain has to invent the lie from scratch, then it has to actively suppress the truth, all while watching the other person's face for any sign they don't believe you and trying to keep the fake story consistent over time. That is an insane cognitive load. It's actually why liars often hesitate or speak more slowly. Their brain is just completely tied up. But the cost isn't just about effort. It's corrosive. Research shows that even if you get away with it, lying lowers your self-worth. It can actually create false memories, blurring the line in your own head between what's real and what you made up. And over time, this can lead to something some researchers call moral flatness. It's this state where you stop asking, is this the right thing to do? And you only ask, will this work? It's a total collapse from the inside out. Okay, so let's pull this all together. We've got our three key ingredients: a new, unsettling sound, a deeply misunderstood symbol of evil, and the internal psychological cost of deception. Now let's see how they combine to create the moral panic machine. So here's how the machine works. It all starts with some new innovation, right? Usually a piece of technology that gives artists a brand new tool. And they use that tool to create something that's totally new, culturally disruptive, maybe even a little unsettling. And that feeling, that anxiety, it needs a name. So society takes that feeling and maps it onto this powerful but totally misunderstood symbol. An unsettling sound becomes an evil sound. And once that label is on there, that symbol becomes a weapon. It's used to generate fear and to paint anyone who disagrees with you not just as wrong, but as fundamentally morally corrupt. And that brings us to the final, most important takeaway from this entire feedback loop. Look, the real threat in this entire story has never, ever been some supernatural being hiding in a guitar riff. The danger is and always has been human. It's the very real power of a symbol to completely short-circuit debate, to justify our own prejudices, and to turn our cultural or political opponents into monsters that we don't have to understand, we just have to defeat them. Which leaves us with one last pretty urgent question for today. We've seen how labeling something evil is a powerful form of social deception. But what happens when deception itself gets a rebrand? You know, when lying isn't a moral failure anymore, but it's called strategic communication or narrative flexibility. If telling the truth just becomes one tactic among many, how on earth do we ever rebuild the basic social trust we need to actually solve our problems? That's definitely something to think about.